job descriptions that are associated with the credit analyst. In short, let's try to understand the role which you people would be performing once you are taking up credit risk as a specialization, once you are done with your financial risk manager program. Now, when I have to talk about the credit analyst and the various types of credit analysts whom we come across, probably I can do the classification based on the job description or a job profile, based on the nature of the job, or I can typically look at the kind of entity that is getting analyzed. Based on that, I can classify the credit analyst like whether this person is analyzing the customer, or is analyzing a corporate or any financial institution or something like that, or it could be classified based on the type of employer, depending on, okay, the credit analyst in a bank, the credit analyst with a rating agency, like that, depending on the employer, or it could be based on the function. So the credit analyst could be employed as a part of risk management function, or the credit analyst could be employed as a part of investment advisory, or it could be a part of a research role. So depending on the function which is being worked out, the credit analyst role may differ altogether. So let's go one by one, try to understand the most common forms of designations that are available, and based on that, let's try to understand what are the various tasks which a credit analyst would typically perform in any organization. To start with, from the job profile dimension, right, let's try to work out on the dimension of a job profile, where I would be seeing a consumer credit analyst, a typical job profile. So the credit analysis happens at a consumer level. So this primarily is a very preliminary kind of a role, right? It does not have too much of analysis, because I mean, the amounts that are involved are not that heavy, so it does not have too much of analysis. So generally what we see is systems are already there for them, some calculations. So generally there is an automation in terms of calculation, which could result in a direct computation of a score, and based on the score a quick assessment of the credit of the person. So generally in case any individual is applying for loans, and primarily looking at whether a loan can be given to this particular person, generally home loans or vehicle loans, just to check for the assessment, whether this person is eligible for this loan or not. This kind of a profile gets in. So it's a very entry level kind of a profile, and in this also, only up to a certain dollar amount this person can typically take some kind of a decision, but anything where the amounts are larger, even the cases are referred to the next layer. So that is how the consumer credit analyst works. Whereas if I look at slightly the other side, a corporate credit analyst kind of a profile, the same credit analyst but at a corporate level. So here the analysis is on companies. But of course, not financial institutions, but non-financial, probably a manufacturing companies or service-oriented companies, such kind of companies. And probably this role may involve some kind of developing of credit models, or probably using a few credit models, or a basic development of credit models is very much required as a part of this role. But on the other side, I also see a very challenging role in the form of credit modeling analyst. We are talking about a modeler. So this is more of a number oriented, or probably what we call as quantitative heavy, or at least quantitative oriented kind of a role, wherein the role actually works towards how do you compute a score, how do you, what factors do you take in to compute, to bring some kind of automation into the rating process. So the discussions with various risk management experts come up, and based on that discussion, some kind of a model are being developed to assess the credit worthiness of the people. So they get into right from conceptualizing to developing to testing to implementing and updating the model. And probably when something new comes up, their role is again rework on the same, take the new requirements and keep upgrading the model. That is what one of the key roles of a credit modeling analyst. And as we say, the one major role that is coming up in today's time frame, counterparty credit analyst. Today, counterparty credit risk is one of the most happening kind of risk. So the counterparty credit analyst, here this is where the counterparties for various transactions, and some of them like for interest rate swaps or some such kind of derivative transactions, you find the counterparties could be banks, or in some cases you find some other financial institutions. You find insurance companies as counterparties in some of the cases like credit default swaps, etc. Or you could have some hedge funds as counterparties for some of the transactions. So this role analyzes these counterparties, right? Especially when we will talk about it something more even later also. But when we talk about a counterparty credit counterparty credit risk kind of thing, we talk about where the transaction is a two-way, generally involving both the parties exchanging something at some fixed points in time, and both the parties have the risk of the other party defaulting on that obligation. So that is where the counterparty risk comes into picture, and counterparty's credit analyst role involves analyzing the counterparty with which this bilateral transactions are going to happen. So there the major things come in terms of assessing the credit worthiness of the counterparties, how much limit the transaction should go up to, and any kind of policies and procedures, terms and conditions have to be developed as a part of the process. So in this, a few important analysis these guys would be doing is they try to assess the debt and equity structure of the counterparty, which is called as your capital structure analysis. They try to understand the debt and equity structure. They do a thorough financial statement analysis of the counterparty, and probably they are also getting into the, apart from the quantitative, they would also look at some kind of qualitative aspects with respect to the counterparty, and they come up with some kind of an internal rating approach. right? So